And now we're introducing to the stage Federico Kunze Küllmer.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Privacy in Cosmos. This is not a privacy-related topic, but it's more about how the Evmos token model works and how it can be used to create incentive alignment across different actors, which include also privacy decentralized applications and also privacy-oriented validators and users, of course. So today I'm going to talk about the problem context, but this talk should be more about like EIP 1559 and incentive alignment across different actors. So what is EIP 1559? This was this massive effort by the Ethereum community to try to solve all the user experience problems that users were facing regarding transaction fees and gas costs. And there was also like economic benefits and security implications of this functionality, but basically it was trying to create a fee market so that the transaction fee was more predictable for users, and so you don't have to wait for additional confirmations or like multiple times, multiple blocks when suddenly there was a sudden increase in the block space demand. I'm not going to dive deep into the EIP 1559 because that's like another topic, but I'm going to explain now how it works at a higher level. So before EIP 1559, the fees and the block rewards were going straight to miners. So the total of the gas price times the gas limit was going to the miner itself. But after EIP 1559 was introduced, the fees itself was split between the base fee and the priority tip, and only the latter went to the validators. And they will still receiving the block rewards, but the base fee was burned as part of this economic benefit that was creating like a deflationary model. And of course, the miners were not happy and they went all against the developers. And so there was this massive drama over early 2021 where miners trying to like create different threats against the developer community and the whole Ethereum community to do a 51% attack and effectively like hard forking Ethereum. And yeah, like even Vitalik created a blog post, but in the end, they were more or less right in the sense that a lot of the Ethereum was effectively burned, and if it wasn't for EIP 1559, then those Ether would go straight to their bags. And of course, when you're messing with someone's bag, they're of course gonna get a little bit anxious about this functionality. And on the other side, there was like a huge push from the Ethereum core development teams to how to improve EIP 1559 to like widely adopt EIP 1559 because of all the UX benefit that it brought for the different users. There was even like core development teams and dApps that were pushing for this like I support EIP 1559, which was a result of like this situation between like the different miners and also the developers. So going back to the original model, like one of the main problems here was that miners thought that the core like developers had most of the powers, as you can see here, like the how miners saw Ethereum, but Ethereum is actually a big community of not only developers, but you also have like application, decentralized application developers, DeFi users, holders, and in the future there will be stakers, also miners and core development teams. So in reality, developers are only a small part of the entire Ethereum community and entire community, as we can see in different projects nowadays. So they weren't really incentive aligned with the project because, like, other than the foundation, there's no sustainable long-term model for how to create alignment for the different teams developing on the protocol. So the question is, like, can devs do something to create these incentive alignment between all these different actors that I showed before? And that's why on Evmos, we're introducing the novel Dav Store mechanism. So the Dav Store is basically a decentralized marketplace where you have Dav developers and users that meet together, and instead of burning the base fee as traditionally is in EIP 1559, you're basically splitting that between the developers that are building constantly on the protocol, and also the validators in this case for Evmos. And the priority tip is still going to the validators, same as the block rewards. So this effectively solves the incentive alignment and creating alignment between different actors that were previously in conflict in other ecosystems, and how to create alignment with the entire protocol. So in this case, for Evmos, core development teams, decentralized application development teams, and miners, or in this case validators, will be incentive aligned to the long-term success of the protocol through this fee split mechanism in the Dav Store. So going back to the other part of the community of users that we have, how do we incentivize now all the users that are interacting with the protocol? And there has been this running joke on Twitter when you basically have a sudden spike in the gas price. So like the easiest way to deal with this is just create another EVM fork. And you create a new EVM fork, you start developing new applications, you basically fork some of the blue chip applications in other ecosystems. You create a DEX, you create a bridge, you create some lending platform, whatever. And then you maybe have a DAO to fund some of the development teams, etc. But in reality, there's no sustainable long-term incentive program that is not one-off, that can create alignment between the users, developers, validators, and that is sustainable in the long run, that ensures the success of the project. And there have been multiple attempts to do this. So we can find Avalon Rush, Polygon DeFi for All, and DeFi Summer. And BSC also had an incentive program that is basically trying to attract new users to provide liquidity for all the DeFi applications, but it has certain limitations. And the limitations of these DeFi incentive programs is that they're not sustainable. It's only a one-off. So one-off program that basically allocates $100 million for incentives, but it's usually also not community-owned. So they're only the foundations are choosing which of the decentralized applications are eligible for these incentive programs. So sometimes are not transparent. How do you know what are the requirements for your application to be in this incentive program? And usually, the biggest problem is that it doesn't really reflect the traction of these decentralized application projects and the adoptions of them in the layer 1 protocol. And also, TVL, as we know, doesn't reflect that there's a growth of users. So that's why on Evmos, we created these novel usage incentive programs where it's directly proportional to the utilization of each protocol, where in every epoch that creates new tokens, those tokens are split between the staking rewards, the team vesting, the community pool, but they are also 25% allocated to user incentives. These user incentives are creating incentives for the users that are interacting with the smart contracts. And I'm going to explain that now how it works. So the workflow here is that we have developers or users or any user of the Evmos ecosystem that can create an incentive or register an incentive through governance. Say, for example, I want to incentivize this little contract. I'm going to use diffusion as an example. I'm going to incentivize diffusion to get like a 5% of all the newly minted tokens from this 25% that I mentioned before, for a period that is allocated every week for a duration of 6 months. After the proposal gets approved and voted on, every transaction that interacts with the diffusion protocol and the diffusion application will start collecting gas. And these gas will be accumulated in these gas pools, where at the end of each week, you will basically calculate each of the pro rata shares of the total gas that you spent in these contracts compared to the total amount of gas that was spent during this period, and then you're going to distribute the Evmos rewards. So basically, just trying to summarize here, how the Evmos token works is basically creating like a positive reinforcement cycles where developers and users propose usage incentives to more growth to their decentralized applications. These incentives drive users and rewards with Evmos tokens. Then the users take these rewards and spend these Evmos tokens in the decentralized applications and services provided in the Evmos platform. And then through the Dav Store mechanism and the free split mechanism that I explained before, developers earn half of the transaction fees for each of the transactions that are targeting their contracts, further incentivizing the development and the growth that allows them to create a sustainable long-term funding mechanism, and then you create more proposals, etc., and then the positive reinforcement cycle continues. So Evmos, and going back to the original community and how the Evmos ecosystem works, Evmos is trying to create incentive alignment for all the different users and validators and decentralized application and DeFi users in the entire ecosystem. So for example, the Evmos holders or Evmos stakers will be able to stake their tokens or LP them. Like the DeFi users will have the user incentives. The decentralized application developers will have the Dav stores, in addition to the grants and community pool, which can also apply for core development. And also the miners, or in this case, the Evmos validators, will have the transaction fees from the Dav Store mechanism and the block rewards. So Evmos is trying to create an incentive alignment between all the different actors in the entire ecosystem to ensure a long sustainable growth and in the ecosystem. So developers, validators, and users are going to make it. Thank you very much.
Do we have any questions? Okay, so
Sam?
thank you. Oh.
Hey.
Hey, Sam.
Are you worried that this is going to be a disincentive for gas optimization?
Can you elaborate?
Well, if developers are getting a cut of gas revenue, then you could basically, launch an Aave fork or something that's just like gas disoptimized, basically, in order to get more revenue.
That could be the case, but usually, so half of the fees are also going to the validators, and there's also the base fee can also be changed through parameters. So instead of being a global as an Ethereum that is not changed via governance, we're also introducing the base fee that is, instead of being set in the blockchain state, is can be configurable. So if the base fee is already high through our governance proposal, it can be decreased so that that also decreases the sort of like the fees that are being burned, that before were being burned and now are split between the validators and the developers. So if someone tries to, I guess like if the entire community of Evmos decentralized applications try to not be gas optimized, like the community could just like lower the base fee.
Okay, thank you very much, Federico.
Thank you very much.